So maybe I can, if you are digital, if you are analog, it's okay. But if you are digital, a part of what I'm saying you can find in my website. My website is www.johnganga.org. And if you put your email address, every time I put new material, you are likely to, it automatically comes to your machine. But if you want to know a lot of what I'm saying about work, just go to my website, and if you search the word work, you will see my understanding of what the scriptures say about work. And in my mind, the scriptures are clear. Work is serving the Lord. Whether that work is cooking or it is teaching, Colossians 3:17 says, whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord. It means that work is something required of you. Then it says, if you don't work, don't eat. Now, when do you stop eating? When you die. So when do you stop working? Are you getting my theology? But I'd like to, and since I won't have enough time to deal with it in this meeting, I would like to encourage you to just go to my website and try to get it. But that's something that we need to do. Let me tell you something. If you're earning, for example, 100,000 shillings per month, which is not a bad salary, and you are now at the age of 40, so you're remaining another 20 years of working. What about if I made an offer that I'll pay you 100,000 shillings per month times 20 years? I'll pay all the money up front into your bank account if you commit yourself never to work. Remember the prejudice for money on the box?
Yeah, okay.
Can you see what I'm talking about? That's what will tell me whether you understand the theology of work. Many people, especially those who have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, will automatically say, why work? If the money is given to me up front, would I need to work? I have enough money. And even to make it work, those who know the value of time, value of money, they know that the money is better now than later, isn't it? But remember, the day I discover you working, I will withdraw the money and you pay back the total amount. So you must make sure you never work. Money out of the box. You need to know that that's when you discover that we don't work for money. Because if I can give you money to be idle, you only need to be idle for 3 months and you'll be sick. Ever heard of something called atrophy? I once had a road accident and my leg was in a plaster for about 3 weeks. The day I went for the doctor to remove the plaster, I expected I would throw away the walking sticks and start walking. Now, he's a very funny doctor, Professor Mulimba. So he said, that's what you want? Yes, just try. So after I tried, I fell. He laughed at me. He told me there is something called atrophy. Atrophy is, even if you are healthy, and you put your hand on a table or someplace for 3 weeks, after that it has forgotten how to work. You require physiotherapy to teach the thing how to work. That's atrophy. Lack of being idle will make you sick. Okay, to my point? So that we don't just work because we need money. We work to be healthy. God created us for work. So when you don't work, you're contradicting your reason for creation. So your body will have a problem. You know, I used to, when I was working for Shell, I was in the regional office, and I was covering some 10 countries in Eastern Africa, from Mauritius, Madagascar, this region, to Djibouti and Sudan. But one of the most beautiful places I used to enjoy being in is Mauritius. Mauritius is a tourist center. They have very, very expensive hotels. So I picture myself, with that kind of money, I can go to Mauritius and stay in a hotel. You know something? The hotel food I discovered when I stay in a hotel for a long time. The hotel food, after 1 week, you have to repeat. Have you ever noticed that? The reason why you enjoy a hotel is because you have not been there. So you're able to choose. Stay there for a week and see that you run out of choices. Am I right? That's when I know Rebecca's food is good, because I've eaten it for the last more than 36 years and I'm still enjoying it. Hotel food is not like that. So I'm trying to get you to understand the idea of retiring to be idle is simply not on. Whether rich or Poor. We don't work because you have no money. We work because God created us to work. And when you don't work, something goes wrong with you in the inside. We learn that God is a creator. And we are created in His image. So the thing that makes you live is the possibility to create something like God created. And work gives you opportunity to create. Whatever work you do, there is a way your mind is put into it, and so you are original. It is that ability to recreate something, like now the people who arrange Mr. Keika's yard, to look like this. They require the creativity, isn't it? When they start back and look, they feel very nice. They will sleep. I don't know whether they are here, but they will sleep very happily tonight. Whenever you do something creative, it causes you to have new life that makes you enjoy your living. And that's why we are suggesting you have to be careful about thinking. So what have we said so far? We have said, first of all, the word retirement is not a biblical word. We have said the idea of retiring, isn't it? And I've given you a verse that says, if you don't work, don't eat. And since you don't want to die, you must continue working. Your money must continue working even as you still work. I know that now even more because a friend of mine is doing a project in Tanzania. And the other day they were with Bill Gates and Belinda Gates. There's a lady called Belinda, a name like that. And so they were together in the farms. That's the richest man in the whole world. And he has handed over running Microsoft. Now he's a social worker. The only difference between him and other social workers is that he is the one paying for working. In other words, the money is from his account to pay for his travels all over. And he's very busy. Another time he was taking pictures in Eldoret. He is going internationally, working, although he is very rich. Why would he do that? Because it is giving him new moments for creativity, even as his money continues working. You spend years dreaming about retirement. And sometimes you even save for it. Still, many worry about having enough for retirement to retire comfortably. And they look at it as a period of 20 to 30 years. Unfortunately, these days you can't estimate how long you retire. Because if you retire at 60 and Jojo is 95, how many years are those? 35. Now, if the way he is looking, he might still be working at 105. Are we together? Yes. Which therefore means you can never save enough to last. The earlier time was okay because you died so quickly, your pension was enough. But now, pension organizations are in real trouble. People are leaving. I'm the chairman of our Share Pension Association, and we have somebody who is 105 until receiving the pension. So you need to understand that you can't save enough. Then you sit down to eat it. Itamalizika. To create is not as easy as to use. Am I communicating?
Yes.
So you need to understand that you have no idea how long you are going to live. So it's something that you need to understand. That's why I'm trying to kill this idea of thinking that you have enough money, you are going to stop. But some people think, because the definition I'm trying to deal with is the definition of to retire is to be jobless. So if at the age of 30 you retire, you are going to continue jobless until the age of 100. So it's something that we have to deal with. But let me tell you the concerns of old age. Just listing a number of concerns of old age. Is resources. Not having resources is a worry of old age. Am I right? It's especially worse for that than for our parents. Because our parents educated us and we are their pension, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it never bothered them. In fact, sometimes I ask myself, the mzee paid school fees in high school. In our days, university was not being paid. But as soon as you finish school, they can't buy themselves in a shoe. Did you notice that? You wonder, where was he getting money? Because all of a sudden they can't. Because in their mind, they're retired. As soon as the firstborn starts working, they're retired. Now, if you don't help your younger sister, they will not go to school. Am I right? Yes. It is wrong theology that our parents suffered from. And it's a pity if we also copy the same theology. It's important to understand because nothing has changed. He is still in the 10-acre farm. He is having the same things, but somehow nothing can come. And the guy is so young, he's only 50. Because you know, since he didn't go to school, he married at the age of 21, isn't it? So at the age of 50, the son is 30 and working. Am I right? So he's just a young boy. But he is totally unable to pay school fees. It all has to do with a mental. By the way, it's not deliberate. It's a mental attitude that makes him feel totally helpless. If you don't send the money, the guy will die. Literally. So it's important to understand this issue of resources are going to be worse for us because my hope is that we are not looking forward to our children being pensioned, isn't it? So it means that you then have to ask yourself, even if I have saved, is it enough to do that? The other thing that worries us is the issues of investment and risk-taking. And I'll be coming to that in a moment. And then the other thing that worries us is succession. We have started a business, none of our sons is interested in being involved. Does that happen? Yes. And you wonder exactly how will this thing continue? Because sometimes you are doing it thinking that others are going to take it over. I want to go through a series of verses that encourage us in old age. 1 Kings 3:14. 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 14 says, "And if you walk in my ways and obey my statutes and commands as David our father, your father did, I'll give you a long life." So it's not strange to get to 100. Am I communicating? Mm-hmm. That's what the Bible is saying. He could give us a long life means your pension running out. Are you getting my point? So it means that you need to understand that God is promised. Then Genesis 15:15 says, "You, however, will go to your fathers in peace and be buried at a good old age." Are you claiming that promise? Yes. You know, you need to, once you start seeing then that possibility, then you start understanding the retirement is not something you can quickly package. But you need to understand, and I'm not talking to the older people, I'm talking to ones who are below 50. You need to understand that therefore, once you understand that language, it means that you work your life in a way that plans ahead. Are we together? Genesis chapter 24 verse 1 says, "Abraham was now old and well advanced in years." And then, let me think. Abraham was now old. If somebody has it, let them read.
24.
He has refused to open.
Genesis
24 verse 1.
24.
Genesis 24 verse 1.
Yeah.
It says, Abraham was now very old, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. I continue. He
Was
said,
very old. Mine put it, Abraham was now old and well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. One of the things I want to mention is the fact that sorry. What I want to mention is that we need to look at the blessing of God going on into the future. And it means, as you serve God in the earlier years, it will be important that you run your life with the knowledge that you are going to go on. what that means is that you are going to use a bit of your money, and I'll be coming to it in a minute. You must have enough money, and that doesn't mean a lot of money, but whatever little money you have, there must be money for consumption today. That includes the school fees of your children. There must be money for what I call savings, and there must be money for investment. It means that if you start planning for your future early enough, then you are increasing whatever little you do, because as you grow older, we accept it, you may have to reduce the kind of things you can do, isn't it? But it means at that time, although you are doing less, the older money you had, the result of that investment is being had. So you may be earning, by what you are doing in your 90s, you may be earning only 100,000 shillings. But your investments are bringing another 100,000 shillings. So you are still able to continue despite reducing. But for that to happen, it means that you must be clear in your mind not to consume everything today. That does not mean you stop doing anything. It just means you. And you see, the concept of saving is not something you do when you have enough money. It is something required of you continuously. If you cannot save when your income is 100,000 shillings a month, it will be much harder to save when your income is 1,000,000 shillings a month. Why? Because at 100,000 shillings might mean you don't have a car. And for you, you are enjoying it because you have accepted it. At 1,000,000, it's not that you are driving a car. It matters which car. You try to take your wife to Kinako for holiday, he says, what's wrong? Now you need to understand that at 1,000,000 is much harder to save than at 100,000. That's what you need to understand. So you need to take a concept rather than the amount. It's a concept you take, that you are going to be investing money, not because you have enough, but because it's an important concept. You know, that same concept is the concept of tithing. Some people tithe when they have enough, but you don't tithe when you have enough. You tithe whatever you have, isn't it? That's why Jesus saw a woman putting a coin, and he surprised the other viewers when he said that woman has given more than others, because it doesn't quite matter. A coin is not much, but he was giving everything of what she actually had. In the same way, do not compare your savings with somebody else's saving. You save according to your income. Are we together? And know something interesting? If you start saving, for example, at the age of 25, and you're going to work until 60, if you put 1,000 shillings into the account, the theory of compound interest, the kind of money you'll be getting at the end of 60 years, are unbelievable. The trouble with many of us, including me, is that we start saving when you are 50. So by the time you are 60, it hasn't. Am I communicating? Because the whole concept has to do with how long did you multiply. You understand? It's not the interest per year. It's the interest on interest on interest on interest. The longer the period, the greater the amount. Are we together? So you need to understand one way of preparing for old age is to assume the verses you have read, it's going to be there. After all, even if it's not going to be there, it will not do any harm for your children to get it. Am I right? So you need to make an assumption. One of the people that I surprised was my grandfather. I think Elizabeth must remember my grandfather. Even Isaac. Remember, my grandfather by the time I was born, he was already a very old man. So whenever my father died, and sometimes we would have no school fees, and I'm in high school in the late 1960s. And he says, no need to get your kid. His argument was very simple. My mother can struggle, him he can't give anything. Why? By the time I finish university, or finish whatever, I don't think he knew what university is. Whatever I finish, by the time he start working, I'll not be. To the surprise of the guy, he lived well above 100. Because he told me the first ship he got is to dig the railway around Limuru. And the railway was 18-something, isn't it? Do you know that guy was here alive in the 1980s? So he was well above 100, I don't know by how many years. And he surprised himself. He actually used to ask me, Johnny, most people, let's move that into English. He is wondering, why is he not dying? Oh, he's Rika. Have all? God must have forgotten. Yeah. So he was telling, what did I do to God for him to forget me? That's how long he lived, until he's looking for death. So I finished university, I got married, my children saw him, I bought him things with a salary he never thought will come. So you need to understand clearly, you are not in control of time. Leave it in God's hands. So that then means you must save for consumption, but also for later life. And it's important that you do that. That's why, for example, even if you had no pension, your organization does not have a pension, these days they have opened private pension schemes. Have you heard? And you know the comparison between investing in pension and investing in Barclays or somewhere else. The others are taxed. Pension is not taxed. So it is free money government is giving for anybody willing to pay. Sometimes your pension is so little, it is way below the tax levels. So it's better to ensure that your tax, your pension is big enough to the limit of the tax level, so that you are not losing money offered by the government. So that means if your pension, for example, if they say pension per month is 20,000, but your pension is only 10, it means you can get money from elsewhere for that 10, and it will give you a much higher return than if you are to put it somewhere else where you have to pay tax. Am I communicating? So that it's pretty foolish to actually, until the government changes, to actually save somewhere else when you have no pension. Because the others, the government is going to follow with tax. All that is important as you look long term. But that will not be possible if you are not conscious of the possibility of the long life. And it is there. God is able to do it, isn't it? And if he carries you home, Paul said, for me to live is Christ and to die, gain. So if he calls us, nothing wrong with it. But I'm trying to encourage you to spend time. But so that's something that you have to deal with in preparation for retirement. I hope that has come home. So I started by emphasizing there is no retirement. Then I emphasize that you cannot be idle, because if you're idle, you are going to be the devil's workshop. Let me look at another area that's still very important. That I've looked at the economics of old age. Let's look at the issue of family life. You know, it's my wife who went the other day to where she comes from Eastern Province. And she said she noted something. A lot of old people are alone at home. You know, young people have disappeared, isn't it? And then there's something, I don't know whether you are in a rural area, something like that has happened. People, old men, and are left with old women. Now, in that old age, all their people have gone. The man can't eat. He's likely to die fast. Because when he was younger, he made his wife a drum every night. Now they are both tired and old, isn't it? Say, now, you need to understand. Now you can't jump and beat. That can't happen. You need to understand. You need to understand that the Kikuyu say, Okoro oreagake. Yeah. You need to understand that in English is, if you want to benefit in old age, you must invest during youth. And so if you want good family life, how you look after your wife when she is young will determine the quality when you are left with just the two of you. You know, some of the men just think about the children. In fact, the other day I was very surprised when a friend of mine said, the wife said, whenever she wants something from her husband, she tells the daughter to ask. That means she knows the daughter can get anything out of the father, and the wife cannot. You know, that man had better watch out. Because as soon as the daughter has gone, they are just the two of them. He is in trouble. Are we communicating? He is in trouble. So if you really want to enjoy old age, it's how you relate during the youth. Have you been friends? Now you are strong, you can do anything. One day she will be the stronger of the strong. And women seem to last longer than men. So it's important to understand that part of the preparation for old age is how you treat someone. And it's exactly the same with the men. If your wife is not looking after you, and you are now old, and you are the stronger of the two, there's going to be trouble, isn't it? Now there is nobody. Your children, one is in Australia, the other one is in America, the other one is somewhere else. You are just the two. Whenever you ring them, they said money. But you know, it's not money you need. You need ugali. And the man is not willing to make, and the wife cannot make. Are you getting my point? So you need to understand it is the history that will make you, at that time when you are helpless, that will determine what's happening. And even with the children, it's exactly the same. If you are the type of a father who is always giving whatever the child wants, money, never time for the child, but you are giving money. The story I heard the other day is of a boy who told that whenever the father says, "Kotaro kamoja, are you not coming home?" The man says, "Oh, how much money do you need?" Because you see, and his understanding is, whenever you fear the father wanting to see you, it's not you he's after. He is after money. So he keeps adding money. So in the same way you are treating your son, you are investing on how you will also be treated. Since you are a bank, he will also treat you like a bank. Because now he knows you have no money, that's why you are calling him. Now, but when you have a relationship, when he enjoys talking to you, he may be 60 and you are 90, he still wants to talk to you. Nothing to do with the money. He is your friend. Are we together? And it's important to understand, if you want to enjoy old age, it will matter how have you related with your children. Are you relating with them? You know, sometimes you see a child and you assume they always be children. You don't understand, within no time, they'll know more than you.
So you already know now, even now.
Yeah, that means you are old. There was a time, whenever you bought a gadget, it was they waited for the father to arrive, to open up and join it. These days, when you buy a gadget, you call them to help you. Am I right? Especially mobiles. You have no idea what it is. Hey, now, you need to understand, those days have come. You have reached a level where what you did is going to be done to you. So I'm suggesting to you that it will be important, if you are to remember, our topic is preparing for those latter years, isn't it? It will be important to understand it's not just money. How are you relating with your people? You know, sometimes you commit yourself to the office completely, available everywhere. Do you know, as soon as you retire? The other day I was asked to go and give a talk in Shell. I mean, now it's been bought, it's called Vivo. I didn't know anybody. And you know, I've not been retired for long, but they have changed. They are different. I've been forgotten, and I was in top management, but I'm not forgotten. Now you need to understand that the only people I'm still relating with is Rebecca. Are we together? Despite all those days of flying all over the country, all over the world, now finally I'm with her. It depends on how we treated her those days of flying. Are we together? It's important to understand the same thing with the children. So you need to ask yourself, exactly how are you investing for later years by how you are relating with them? I am not suggesting you stop working hard. I'm not suggesting you allow your business to drop. But be aware the business will not be available in old age. You have to change to something where your body can cope with. Am I right? So that busy place, you have to move to a new one. I think I was clear on that one, isn't it? So when you do, what happens? So you need to know that how you relate. Your workplace is a good place to work. Relate well with them. But you must always invest more with your family than with your workplace, than with your business. They just drop you. You know, my wife just read for me something about somebody in Britain complaining, and I thought it was a very similar complaint to Demos' complaint, how when he was a journalist with a big paper, he used to get gifts from the Prime Minister, from all the top people in Britain. Then he moved from the job. Nobody sends him anything during Christmas. And he is saying in the article my wife read from me, they said, you should tell me that they have just forgotten. Don't tell me that it's just because I changed jobs. You know, that's the truth, isn't it? That those people out there care for you depending on what you are producing. Am I right? The only person who will care for you after you produce nothing is the family. Am I right? So you need to be aware. You know, I've just been given by the government a contract to train boards of directors who ordered all parastatals to go through training, boards of directors to go through training. And I was asked to train them. So from September until last week, I've been going to Mombasa every week to train different boards. And you know, as you talk to them, you can see they are big people, isn't it? But you know something? Within no time, the Lord doesn't allow you to be a director after a certain age. Am I right? They will soon be gone. So it's important to remind yourself, however great, you have a problem. I told them, with something they didn't quite agree with me. Everything you receive because of you are a director is a bribe. There is no such a thing as a gift. Nobody ever gives you a gift. Even the people bribing you call it a gift. So you need to understand. And I see they were looking at me. I told them, when I worked for Shell, I had a very difficult time handling, especially during Christmas. That's when people misuse the time of Christmas to give you big things. So I told them, no, I would remove the card, accept the card, and tell the guy to return whatever else he's bringing. He says, no, Mr. Nganga, this is not a bribe. We are friends. I told them, I'm soon retiring. As soon as I retire, all those gifts, I'm ready for them. But then I'm still here. It could be conflict of interest. I retired. Not even one gift. Sometimes you bump onto somebody. He says, what happened? Nothing. They know, since they know that I'm a pensioner in Shell, they can get me. I haven't got anything. Now you need to understand clearly that all your great friends, all the people out there, only your family in the end. Okay, God first. But He is likely to use your family. Am I right? Yes. So you need, as a way of preparing for retirement, it will be important to invest with time, not money. Time, concern, care with the people that are members of your family. And it's an important thing to them. Again, another thing you need to care about is your health. Sometimes the way we use our bodies during the earlier years is going to cost us in the older years. I don't know whether Zachary would agree with me, but sometimes you go and all of a sudden you feel an ache. It's wonder where that comes from. It's when you remember I fell in 1963. It has been forgotten. Now it is coming back. You need to be aware your health in old age may relate to how you treated your body during the youth. If you are a nyamachoma guy, continuously because you have the money. Now you understand. Do I have to say more? You need to understand how you are eating, how you are exercising, how you are dealing with the body could relate with how the life is going to be in later years. So, again, preparation means check. I've written a book called A Leader's Source of Influence. One chapter is on how to manage your life. And I say you must look after your body. And what that means is you must exercise, you must eat a balanced diet, but you must also rest. Because some of the problems, people are exercising, people are eating well, but they are not resting. You feel like it's a sin to rest. Now you need to understand God created rest. In every 7, one day must be rest. So when you don't rest, you are breaking God's command, isn't it? So the body will tell you after you have been breaking for that long. So you need to ask yourself, am I doing those things? How am I preparing my body for old years? By the way, what you are doing with the body at this time. And that will be something that you need to deal with. And I could go on, but I realize now the time I said is actually gone. I wanted to spend a bit of time talking about our view of the future. First of all, to say that there are 3 views of the future. Again, you can find it in my book, Leadership King David Style. Because I regard King David, as somebody who had the clarity of the future. You know, you can be an optimist. That means you assume everything will go well. But you can be a pessimist. Assume everything must go wrong. Both of them are unscriptural. Especially when you look at the life of David. An optimist is not biblical. Because he's a person who assumes everything must go well. But you know that's what Job asked the wife. What's wrong with you? Must we only receive good from the Lord? Job was not an optimist. The wife was an optimist. And when an optimist meets a problem, they are crushed. They never expected it to happen. So when it happens, they can't revive you. Just take them to Nairobi hospital. And all that happened is something they were not expecting happened. Because they think bad things only happen to other people. Job said, we can't just receive good from the Lord. We must be ready for whatever the Lord brings our way. So an optimist cannot be biblical. Because God has the right to do with his children whatever he chooses. And some of that is that some difficult days could be lying ahead. But the one thing you need to understand is Romans 8:28, which is saying the bad things and the good things will work for your good. Just remember the verse. People normally misquote it. All things work good to those that love the Lord. Is that what it says? No. Just check again. Because if it says that, then I have a quarrel with God. A lot of things have gone bad in my life. And I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian for at least around 50 years. So it's important to understand that's not what the verse says. Check it up in the evening. There is like a small word there that changes the whole sentence. It says all things work for. If you put the word for, it then means they can be good, they can be bad, but they want to work for good. So it means an optimist assumes all things will work good. And that's not in the Bible. The Bible doesn't promise that. The Bible promises some things will go well, some things will go bad, but all of them, God has an intention to produce good at the end. And I'm sure in your own testimony, given your age, you have seen God use bad things for good, isn't it? So an optimist, as you look in the future, do not look in old age as if all bad things will happen somewhere else. They can't happen to you. But you see, a pessimist is another one who is not biblical. A pessimist assumes God has no power to control things. So he assumes things will go bad. You cannot be a Christian and not know God is able to sort out. That's a problem the Jews had with Moses. He has brought them all the way to the Red Sea. I used to cover Sudan, so I used to have been to Port Sudan, just next to the sea. And that's when I realized, hey, this is not a lake. You cannot see across from Port Sudan, you can't see the other side of the Red Sea. It's a sea. Do you know, I can then understand the Israelites. They are there, the armies of Pharaoh are running from behind. They said that we are finished. Is it that there were no graves in Egypt? Why did you give us? Because they are sure, they felt they're as good as dead. What they did not remember is that God is never cornered. He cannot be in a corner. So the same sea, all of a sudden, opened up. And they walked on dry ground. And you need to understand as a Christian, whatever the challenges of the future, as long as God is with you, you are never in a corner. He can take you out of the corner. Later you want higher. You can't understand what happened. I'm sure the Israelites lived to wonder what exactly happened. And I'm sure you look at your life, there are times you have been in a corner and God has removed you there, isn't it? So to be a pessimist, to start fearing old age, fearing what will happen when my children are gone, fearing what will happen, this comes says, doesn't like me, how will we live just the two of us? Now, that's not a good way of thinking. You need to understand it clearly that the God you believe in is a God who can do miracles, isn't it? Yes. All the time he has been a hard man. All the Lord needs to touch something. And the guy will be a different. You wonder, is this the same husband? Something has changed, isn't it? And God is able to do that. Are we together? So it's important not to look at the thing. So, neither a pessimist nor an optimist is biblical. Who is biblical? Is a realist. A realist is a person who analyzes the future properly, looking at what can go right and what can go wrong, factors all of them, and faces the future realistically. That was David. You know, when he had been running away from King Saul, then King Saul dies, and people tell him, yeah, come, take over. He refused. Because he knew You may take over during emotions, but those people have not thought through. So he refused until they came for him. And when they came for him, he discovered not everybody was coming for him. Only 2 tribes. Do you remember the story? It took another 6 years for the rest of the 10 tribes to become part of the kingdom. Am I right? David was a realist. And I'm suggesting to you, as you look into old age, don't be an optimist, don't be a pessimist, be a realist. Because that is what will happen. You know, one of the guys who is the best example of looking in the future positively and realistically is the guy who began Kentucky Chicken. You ever heard of Kentucky Chicken? Just Google the story. He lost his father, so he never got educated properly, and he started working until now he was in his later years. He was helpless, without anything, without a job, and he wondered, what can I do? That's the time he remembered that when he was young, whenever his mother allowed him to cook chicken, everybody used to be happy. So when he had no job and nothing to do, he decided to make chicken and sell from house to house because he had nothing. The moment he started moving around the neighbors, they said, what? You made this? Every week, a chicken for me. Now, then after some time, they said, why can't you have a kiosk somewhere where we can be buying chicken? Within no time, in the town where he started, everybody told everybody else, never pass this town without taking chicken. Within no time, he couldn't move as many places as they required. So he started a franchise. So when you see it in Kenya, it's not the same guy. It's a franchise where you pay a fee for the name. And when he was in his 70s, 80s, he started moving from university to university, where he never attended himself, talking to people about entrepreneurship. And his success came in latter years. So don't sit there thinking that the latter years will be worse than the earlier years. There may be an idea, you are 50, you still haven't discovered it. Maybe you are going to discover it at the age of 60. And the rest of your life, you'll be more productive than the earlier years that you had. And I think it will be important for you to look that. I finish with the issue of just talking about going back to the economics and mentioning that you would divide your life into 3 circles. From the time you are of birth up to the time you are around 19 or 20, this is the early life. Normally that early life is a life where somebody else looks after you. Am I right? Yes. Then there are middle years, which are years of productivity. That is between 20 all the way to about 60. Years of productivity. Then you have the final years, which are years of old age. And it's important to understand, as you deal with them, what that means. In the years of productivity, they also happen to be the years of expenditure. You are the one now, who is having to pay for your mother's medical bill, isn't it? Those are during the years of... Because the years of your old age, they are likely to be dead. But in the years of productivity, you not only look after your family, you have to look at your father's family. And they can be quite a few years. Those are the same years you're looking for a house to build. Many of you have already have a house here in Gong. They are the years of a lot of fees for students, for your children. And we could go on. And clothing, where somebody is doing them. When you go 60, your children are now out of your equation, hopefully and prayerfully. The little you are producing is for yourself and your wife, or your wife and your husband, whichever you want. If you're a woman, talk about your husband. You have to produce enough to feed him, isn't it? Now, I think it's important to start understanding in those and asking yourself, exactly where are you? By the time you get to retirement, it will be important to assume a lower level of direct income, not because you are retiring, but because of your body. By that time, you are advised to try to do costs and put them ahead. For example, those are not the years to be having a mortgage after 60. You'd have cleared the mortgage earlier. So if you are taking a mortgage, plan so that the mortgage is already paid up by the age of 60. Because now you can push your body. It can be pushed. By that time, you don't push your body. You do what the body allows you to do. So it means at that time, you need to have your house. And don't worry whether it's a big house or a small house, but you need a house where you're not paying any rent. Nobody can tell you out. Don't worry whether it's big or small. That's secondary. But it's yours. So that what you are looking for is simply medical bills, because they increase. After 60, the medical costs go up. So you need to, so instead of paying mortgage, you could be paying for medical bills. You have no school fees to pay, but instead of school fees, you have to. No. So it's important anyway. I can see you have gotten the point. So I may not need this. You need to be aware of that, because if you are not aware, then you clear problem. So when you are investing, now that is about expenditure. Now I look at the investment. If you are investing in the early years, between 25 and 40, you need to be aware that's the time to take risks. You can take serious risks. Because even if they go wrong, you are still strong enough to sort them out, isn't it? So it's important to understand there are three baskets you need to divide your money. One I call the security bucket, then the hold bucket, then the growth bucket. Now, when we talk about the security bucket, it is some money you have put aside for quick use. You know, some of the investments you make, you can die still trying to sell them. If somebody told you, please lend me 100,000, I'm selling my plot, please give him the money, he is unlikely to ever pay. So it's important to understand. You can be very rich, owning many plots, but they are totally useless for immediate use. They are not a source of security. You need to understand that. So you need money kept in such a way it's liquid enough. When you need to go for medical, you don't have to call a Harambe. The money can be accessible. Are we together? So you need to understand that. So during the time you are young, then the security bucket should not be more than 20%. Because you can tackle the issues easily. You have an employer who might even help you, isn't it? By the time you get 60, the security bucket needs to rise to somewhere above 40%. So that most of your money is liquid enough. Are we together? So you need to find a way of liquidating some of the earlier investments so that it's now accessible, and it's important. Let's look at the hold bucket. The hold bucket is a bucket of money you have access to. When you are young, you need so much money. It should be you are looking at 40-50% of your money is for use. You have the school fees, you have your food, there are so many things that your use bucket needs to be higher. Fortunately, the security bucket is also smaller. So if you had something like 20% security bucket, you can put 40% hold bucket. But then, you are still left with something like 40% for what I call the growth bucket, where you are trying to grow. You are investing in order, you don't want any return in it. You are growing your portfolio. So, when you are young, you are trying to balance between consumption and growth. And that's why I said you are putting money, not for immediate use and long term. Things like shares are in this growth bucket because they are high risk. You can put, like people did during Kenyan, you put 1 million shillings, in 2 months, it was half a million. Am I right? So those who borrowed money have to look for somewhere to sell. Because you sell your shares, you have lost, isn't it? Then we thought that it is going to turn in another 3 months. 5 years later, it was still a half. Am I right? So it's a very dangerous thing. You do that in your younger days. Once you are 60, be very careful about shares. Unless, of course, you mean them for your mother or for your children. Now, it's important to understand that, in other words, so one of the best growth areas is shares. You know, I'm told by a friend of mine who had invested in equity when it was a building society. He said, for every 1,000 he put, 1,000 shillings. It has grown by more than 1,000%. That means if you had 1,000, you are a millionaire. 1,000 times 1,000. Are you getting the point? Now, but then, at one time it looked like it's going to collapse. So you need to understand, given time, you know, they tell us with shares, they go up and they go, but the line, generally speaking, the line is going up. But what about when it is down, is when you want to sell. So you need to understand what you are saying. In other years, you know the whole bucket gets less. But even the growth bucket also gets less. So that you have security bucket going up. And I think that's important for you to do. But what kind of things do you do in security bucket? Bonds can play the role in security bucket. Because bonds can be sold anytime. You are aware? Yeah, if you invest $1 million shillings, then you discover you need it. It's not like a piece of land. It is liquid. It's sold these days. You see it quoted every evening, isn't it? So it means you can put money, because you can't put it in a savings account. That's not called a saving. A savings account is not saving. Because, I mean, it has no, you know, all you are doing is to avoid paying cost. But by and large, they give you 2%. Am I right? So it's not, and inflation is, they told us it's about 7%. So to put money in a savings account, and inflation is 7%, it means by the time you get it out, it will be minus 5%. So you are actually not saving, you are reducing your portfolio. So it's important to understand that bonds normally do better than inflation. If inflation is 7, the bond is likely to be more than 10%. Sometimes they're higher. The other day they reach even 17, isn't it? So it's important to understand that investing there helps you to be able to liquidate it whenever you need. Pension is another liquid thing, because by the time you need it, it's coming monthly, isn't it? So it's a security bucket. Insurance, but which I am not a great supporter of, is another area where you can, and that's a topic for another day, but it's another area which could be liquid if you time it so that you're able to get your money back. And then there's something you call money bucket, unit trust. You have heard of unit trust? Unit trusts are better than saving, because unit trusts are like your savings account in Barclays, but if you put unit trust, they are likely to be at the same level in inflation or a little higher than what they call the money market. So those are the areas to place money where you can get it, because in the money market, the unit trust will work like they work like a savings account. They say you are not allowed to withdraw more than once in 7 days, but basically you can withdraw. So it's actually very useful. Now, the growth bucket is, I think I've already given you examples. Shares are a wonderful area you can use, bonds and real estate, you know, building houses and giving rent, because then you are able to gain both from rent and value increase. Normally rent never gives you a return on itself. It only gives you a return. You know, I know that because I used to be in the board of a pension scheme before. Now I'm just elected. By that time I was in the actual board where we used to invest. We were investing the money for pension. And I can remember when I joined the board, the pension board, I fought. Old Mutual used to manage our money. I fought them to the nail as a Kikuyu, because they were not putting enough money in buildings and land. They had to do an analysis for me to show me one of the lowest return on investment is buildings. The pension scheme owned Shell BP House. And the return, now I can talk about it because it's no longer there, it's now owned by the government. It never gave us more than 4 to 5% return on investment. When you collected all the rent, paid all the people that were managing the building, and treated as a percentage of the value of the building, we were only getting 5%. But the money we had put in bonds never came below 10%. With the building, when you want to sell it, it's not available. Because finally we decided to sell, nobody was willing to buy until God had our prayers and the government came for it. Now, but by that time everyone was moving out of town, so nobody wanted to buy a building in town. So we are stuck with an investment you don't want to keep. And that's what happens with the buildings. Although Kikuyus have to be talked to deal with that matter. But you need to understand that at least you are able to show me that if you build a house, 10 million, the rent is unlikely to ever pay for the house. Am I right? So the only advantage is increase in value. The people who make money are people who build and sell. Build and sell. Those of us who want to keep it for rent, you get the message, isn't it? So you need to understand the implications. But on the long term, that's why I'm calling it the growth bucket. You are getting little rent, but the value keeps going up. So when you bought the Purupuru house for originally at 900,000 shillings, now nobody will be able to give it to you for less than 10 million. Are we getting the point? So it's important. Or you bought a small land in Kinago and you bought it at 1 million. Now it will not be possible for somebody to take it out of you without 20 million. Am I communicating? So that's what we are talking about. But you need to understand its limitations so that you understand it's not the only way of investing. Now, my time is up. I had said 4 o'clock, and it's actually beyond 4 o'clock. I've emailed the notes to Zachary. If you're interested in the notes, you can pick them, isn't it? Okay, I'm talking about the digital ones. He can email them. Don't ask him to print. Give him your email. Give him your email, and he will email them to you. He can email. By the way, if you don't have email, you can give your son's email. Then he will print and give to you. Now, let's have a discussion, and that will allow my wife to also be able to say something. So, a question, a comment. And remember, we agreed the questions are not necessarily to me, they are to us, so that we can discuss.
Thank you very much, sir, for that vision that you've talked to us. I don't know whether mine is a question or just a point that I want to put across to all of us.
An observation.
Or an observation.
Yeah.
Let's take a seat. As you commented earlier, most of us are now at the exit of employment and all that. And maybe one of the biggest fears to us is, how are we going to face now a world that we've not known? So maybe at your point of exit from Shell, maybe you are prepared for the exit, maybe some of us are not. How do we now come to the reality that we are now entering into that other world that we don't know?
My advice, but before I comment, can somebody else comment? You know, I'm not the only one who is in his 60s. The others. Let me say 3 things. Number 1, you need to pray about it. I know you don't want that answer. Because the future is not in anybody's control. It's in God's control. So it's important to tell God, I am 5 years from now, from leaving my work, not retiring, leaving my work, or being retired, getting new tires, retired, getting new tires. And normally when you put new tires on a lorry, it must be starting a new journey, isn't it? So you're only getting retired, so that you go for a longer journey. Now, you tell God, I have not worn those tires before. What do you want me to do? So to me, and that's what I did, I also prayed, I think it's important to talk to God about it. Number 2, which is important, it is important to start, as you talk to God, looking at figuratively at life beyond employment. And asking yourself, what do you think are gifts God has given you? In a book, I have another book called The Christian Professional. And in it, I have a chapter which I help young people to discover your life's purpose. Your life's purpose is not related to your job. Because your life is not up to your job, isn't it? We have established that, isn't it? So you need to ask yourself, why did God create me? Maybe your job is preventing you from doing what God has called you to do. And now by stopping that kind of work, you have an opportunity to do what you are created to do. So you need to ask yourself, exactly what do I feel? I don't have enough time to deal with this issue, but I deal with it with university students quite a lot. But I tell them, some of the things that help you to know what God wants you to do is, what are you interested in? You know, 1 month you are interested in something, I have no idea what interest. You know, sometimes I see people watching Manchester United. I keep asking myself, if two English teams beat each other, how does it affect a Kenyan? But the other day I was in another country and I was staying with somebody and he can't talk to me. So the teams are playing. I say, surely, even if they win or don't win, what has that got to do with? But you know, I respected him, so I wait until we can't talk. Now, you need to understand that there's nothing wrong with the guys. There is something about interest. Are we together?
Yes.
So that should be telling you something about your interest. So you need to ask us, because our interests are different, isn't it? So the interest may be telling you something about maybe what you are doing at work is not within your interest. You are just simply surviving. But find out, now that you have a second chance, what is it you can do that's within your interest? The other one is gifting. Your giftings are not my gifting, isn't it? So you need to ask yourself, how come God gifted us so differently? There was something He wanted you to accomplish. That's why He gave you those giftings. Then there is things you enjoy. You enjoy doing them. Now anyway, it's not my topic today. But I'm saying, the second thing I recommend is, see it as an opportunity for a new life. And see what you hear God saying you can actually do. And as you get it, start finding out what the rate costs. How can I get that kind of money? What can I do? Like for me, since Shell invested a lot of the time preparing, training me in management, and I felt I enjoy. If you go to my website, I put my rice papas in my website. I had to look for something after leaving Shell that aligns with my line. When I am standing in Kigali training people, I feel I'm doing it resonating. Whether you pay me, don't pay me, I'm doing something that I am enjoying. So it's important to understand God answered my prayer. I actually, my things I'm busier now than I was in Shell. But sometimes I don't pay. I'm doing it free of charge. But I'm doing something that I enjoy. So you need to start asking, what is it that you need to know? Thirdly, you need to restructure your life. You cannot retire and continue operating like you're earning an income. Am I communicating? One of the most dangerous things is retirement. Is a guy had a Mercedes bought by the company. He want to continue driving the same Mercedes. And you know, Mercedes and a Viz carry 5 people. Am I right? What is even worse is that in Kenya, a Mercedes can drive at 280 kilometers an hour. But in Kenya, the police will catch you whenever you go above 100. Viz can go at 150. So 100 is capable, whether a Viz or all of you drive at the same speed. No, you cannot get to Kisumu earlier than a Viz. Because the government will not allow you. I'm getting the point. So you need to ask yourself, what do I actually need? And you must plan to live your life according to your income. Am I communicating? Because that's one of the big problems. Yesterday the question was asked, what do you do with the people who even after retiring, wake up early in the morning and go to Nairobi to train? That was Gabu. That they come to Nairobi in a suit, pretending they are working. Now, you know that it's a sickness. Where you feel like, without a tie, who am I? The tie decides who you are. So people actually pretend to be working when they are not working. And you know that's extra cost. You are going to town and coming back, and nobody is paying you. Now, you need to accept that life and retirement is different. And it may not be money, by the way. Sometimes your income is so high, you can still drive whatever you can drive. But you must understand you are no longer young, isn't it? So your life needs to be structured if you are going through. When you do that, it means you are ready. Whichever life you get in the retirement, it will not surprise you because you thought early about it. But when you have a fake idea, and you finally reach there, and it doesn't work, you will die quickly. So, if you don't want to die quickly, do those 3 things. Are we together? It's important that you do that. But again, I'm not the only person talking. Anybody can actually comment. But that's a very important question. That's a very, very important question about it. But I want to tell you, life in the older years is wonderful. I don't want you to live here thinking that there are challenges. Can I give you 3 reasons why it's wonderful? Number 1, now in my house, I just stay with Rebecca. Nobody bothers us. Nobody. We can sleep early, sleep late, wake up, sit down. It's our job. We are just on ourselves. After all those years of struggling with the children, we are just the 2 of us. If we go to kitchen, we can cook there. We can move. We can go to the toilet. Now, it basically doesn't matter. We are just the 2 of us. And it's a wonderful life. Look forward to it. Am I communicating? Yes. The other thing is, those same children that used to disturb me asking for things, now I can ask for something and they're able to help me. We've just been discussing with Gaduka, and he was also telling me about how enjoyable it is. They are now a relative. You know, your brother was not quite your relative. Are you understanding? You understanding? He was competing with you. Your own children are your friends. Are we together? So you ask them. The other day I wanted to bring a car, and one of my children said, I can help you. Are you serious? Yes, just give me the money. And sure enough, I just found the car at my gate, imported from Japan. Never did anything. And I said, these are the babies of the other day. I want to tell you, it's wonderful to be old. I'm not communicating. Yes. It's important. Don't start thinking that you're looking forward and you can't. Thirdly and importantly, is that wherever you go, you know something other people don't know. Are you aware there are very few people, Kenyans alive who were there during independence? There are very few people above the age of 52. 50s, 51, is it 51 or 52? 52. Very few Kenyans are that old. So whenever you are talking, you have something to say, other people have no idea. It's not that they are pretending. They have literally they have no idea at all. So wherever you go, you are talking to people and they are willing to listen. Now I can go on, but I promise you. So don't look forward to old age like something to frighten you. No. There are many good benefits at every age, including the final years. Anyway, let's hear, yes.
Thank you, sir. Mine is that after listening to you, I realized that maybe you are the right candidate to talk to our children.
They should hear this thing earlier.
Especially that group that is there.
That group there. They should hear it now. I think you are right, because to come to talk to somebody about pension when they are 50 is a joke. But if you know it at 25 and begin making sure that your contribution is always the maximum above tax, can you imagine the kind of, other people will be getting, let's say, 100,000 shillings a month. You'll be getting 200 until you die. Just because of having learned it at an earlier age. You are right, it's very important, especially because that group is a group that is no longer lasting in any job. They jump from job to, but it is possible to be in a personal pension scheme. Because you take jobs, you are always putting money in the pension scheme.
Sure.
So I agree with you. For another day.
Let me give you just an example of that.
Yeah.
My daughter, who is in that group now, she's the other group. She's still in high school. She's just about to finish high school. At 15, 16, she's 17 now. And she started saying she wants to make her first million when she turns 18. And with my mindset, education, she tried a lot of things at home. And she has said once she finishes university, she wants probably to work for 2 years just to learn how to run business. And she wants to come and employ her classmates. And I'm here trying to imagine how can that happen.
Yeah.
1 million, when did I get 1 million myself? and so, that idea of I think the challenge of how do we begin to identify these potentials in the children and nurture that spirit, that good time, while still guiding them in the right pathway of life. And maybe, I don't know what is your experience, whether you discovered this after 50, or maybe because even if it's not at 50, maybe you have also been dealing with others. Maybe there are things you have learned. Because that's the challenge. The children we have today are completely different.
I think it's
very innovative, thinking outside the box. They are not thinking success is only through education. We have already discovered education is not the only thing. There are many ways. But for parents, how do you
nurture them.
nurture and guide and even help them to achieve that?
Somebody tried to comment on what our brother is saying. My view deals with young people.
Maybe Mama Abuyo has something to say on that.
I think she deals with young people all the time.
Yeah,
She is paid to deal with young people.
yeah.
Good afternoon. I think I feel disconnected. I will not be able to get into the talk. One, because I don't feel like I'm introduced and therefore don't quite seem to fit in. In fact, to me, the real question should be, how do you cope with such a disconnection? And we still cope and we still live. Because those are some of the realities of life that we live with. So we the issue. Okay, let me first comment. One thing that I'm having about retirement. I thank God for my husband and the input that he has put into this, and makes so much sense. And he lives it. We live it. What he is saying. For example, I always want to invest in what I can see. Those boards, I mean, it's okay, but I want to see and touch. Yeah, so that we have to go half. Yeah, those invisible things, because somehow my mindset is still old, and I can't change myself. Because if I do and I don't follow, then I am not able to cope with me. Yeah, so there's that challenge. Now, there's a question, growing older, and cope with it. I read a story of a woman who started falling sick, and she was very healthy. And the doctor tried, no particular issue could be found that was wrong with her, but she was falling sick. And so realized there must be something psychological. And on further investigation, the doctor said that, the woman, had to admit, because what has changed? What is causing so much sickness suddenly? So it's just the husband announced that he was going to retire. That's what had changed. And so as they talked, is that, he is a stick in the mud. Now, stick in the mud. I mean, this is a person who sits at the table, bring tea, bring this. I mean, just giving orders. He won't be realistic. He is just there, literally. You now become as a house now there, moving up and down for him. And so the fear of that life was causing her immune system to just go down. Yeah. So, and I actually, at that time I was much younger. But now I know, it is true. You can really realize that, we were trained to go to school to be employed, and we got employed, but we were not told what to do thereafter. And it can be very frightening, because for sure, our lifestyle, our culture, our everything, some people grow old. Women are still, I think, are more agile. Even in old age, they are still moving around. So anyway, there is something there about retiring. It's a reality. There are challenges that one has to cope with. Let me become spiritual, because that's who I am. Let me tell you, these days I have only one message. Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. That for me is what I am determined to hold on to, because things are fading. There is a message that I think it was motivated by T.D. Jakes, or heard from him. But I just looked at because I take notes when I'm listening. Referred to it, and it made so much sense. I am enjoying the story. The song of Mary, the Lord who takes the glory from nothingness and makes them something. And in a materialistic society, being nothing, being made something is having things. You know, which is so unbiblical, because that's not what Mary is saying. But because of the conditioning we are in, we interpret her language as, you know, now the rich have become poor. Let me put it this way. Abraham was called by God, and he was blessed. And Abraham had wealth. It's only the child who was not coming. Remember the time he was having difficulties with sleep at night? Yeah, because he's wondering who inherits all the wealth. But follow the story. For sure, Isaac inherited some of the father's wealth. But Jacob, the appointed heir, what did he leave the father's house with?
A stick.
A stick. Did you get it? Yeah, so who actually inherited Abraham's wealth? Where did it go? Because he started with, Jacob started with nothing. But you know, we don't see that connection. That there is something about a relationship with God and the blessing of God that is what we need, who provides in the world when the things that make sense are no more, but he is able to provide. Again, look at Joseph. With what did he leave his father's house? In fact, it is with deep rejection. But he's the one who saved his father's house from poverty and starvation. Are we talking? So where did all Jacob's wealth go? Do you understand the inheritance issues we have? When we look at the Bible, it is saving so that children can inherit is true. Paul said so, and it is okay. We are not going to waste. We are not going to be like his grandfather, who thinks he can't educate a grandson because he will not be alive by the time the grandson is earning, because that's selfishness. But we must have that reliance on a God who is able to provide for us when we have nothing. Now, come to a daughter that is ambitious and our children that are certainly. I was watching that Koinange interview on Thursday, and that 1 year old who's a billionaire, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, I would want to sit with this boy. I mean, how does it feel even to be, because whether you say stolen or not, because some of us, even if we stole, there is money you need to, to move to another level. And for sure, the kind of money creation that we are having to deal with today. We have even children that are, in my head, you ask me what they do, I can't quite tell you, because I don't understand. All I know is that they are making money, they are paying their rent, they seem okay. But exactly what they do, I'm totally surprised. And now what are those? I know teaching, nursing, I know those jobs that have names and labels that were categorized long ago. Now there are those others that I am not able to figure out. And so what I'm realizing that we must learn to handle this. But for sure there are things that we will not understand. How? My greatest concern about our children, where I deal with young people, and they come in all shapes. And particularly those ones who are making money and starting companies. I have a customer, I've taught at Desta for the last 20 years. And anyone who has gone through my class, there are things that are typical of me. Because I tell them, somebody has to have a DNA. It needs to be seen. So there will be the first class is introduction, where we get to know each other, we get to know what the course is. And in this introduction, there is a question that is standard. Where do you see yourself at the age of 18? Yeah, because you might be 20 and thinking here and now, and because of here and now employment and what, 80, nobody is really applying for a job. Yeah, but where do you see yourself? Because the decisions made today have a relationship with where you are going to be at 80. Like many of them want to be happy grandmothers with grandchildren hanging around, and I ask, how often do you hang with your grandmother? What will have changed that you think you will be a better grandmother than your grandmother? Did she have ambitions? Anyway, as we look, I'm actually concerned because you see, I'm a Christian, and mine, whatever job I do, is it must be motivated by loving the Lord my God with all my heart. Extremely materialistic attitudes of making money. So we spared time. I teach communication, and so of course communication and many aspects of it. Because I'm saying yes, everybody wants to start a media house. They want a media house. Agreed. Yeah, so why do you want a media house? So we asked several whys. Yeah, why do you want to be a millionaire? Because making money, nobody makes money for its own sake. No. There must be money, a demand for money is derived demand. Yeah, what is it that you want to do? What is the service that you want to offer? Yeah, so that we must be realistic, so that we are talking. Life is not about consumption. Life is about production. Life is about service. We have a Christianity today that is totally irrelevant because we are consumers. Thanking God right now, between now and the end of the year, because we didn't die, we didn't go to hospital, we didn't go, things that God did for us. But do you realize Jesus did not come so that we can be better consumers and more preserved and protected consumers? That he came so that we may go and be on duty, producing. So that I keep saying, why am I not hearing testimony of how we were given courage in our industries to resist what was evil? Why are we hearing testimony? Because being sick is not the issue. God uses sicknesses even to bless people. He needs Christians sick in hospital to minister to other sick people. So that we cannot be that our look is simply worldly but labeled Christian. So I am saying as parents and as we are growing older, we need to examine our own beliefs, our own vision, because we have given it to our children. Now they want to be rich like they have seen us struggle, so they want to clear the struggle from the world, which I think is totally unrealistic. This life you can't clear struggle. Struggles will be there. If it's not their shape, this one will come. If there is no Ebola, if there is no HIV, Ebola will come, which now is a new matrix. Things keep coming. And we must learn how to live in a world that has challenges, and challenges that cannot be sorted out with money. And so to me, that relationship with the living God is where we must start.
So the young person must be asked, why do you want to be a millionaire at the age of 18? There is a big possibility they just want to be famous. Then you are in a danger zone. Because you'll discover when you have 1 million, somebody else has 10 at 18. They commit suicide. Have you heard of people getting a B plus and committing suicide in Form 4? Whereas you are wishing, I wish man could get. But that one, an A, if not an A, I die. So we need to deal with that as a serious issue. Find out why does the person, don't discourage them. Don't tell them to stop. That's not the issue. Find out why do they want? Yeah. When you discover that it's in order to honor God, then you encourage them, isn't it? But if you discover that what they want is to be famous, that's an unreachable area. If you are rich, like the people used to call very rich in Jabine, are people with bicycles. Because not everybody, hardly anybody had a car. So if you have a bicycle, we call you rich. Until I came to Nairobi and I realized bicycles are not regarded as rich. Now you need to understand, if you could wear shoes, since we are all shoeless, if a boy could wear shoes, he was called rich. So you need to understand that this idea of getting rich, it's a mirage, isn't it? Yes. So if your child is after making money, realize you have a depression coming. Because they will not take long. They will not be 30 before they discover they are very rich. But there's somebody even richer. And that's where the trouble will be. So you need to help them. And that's why we are saying we need to talk to them now, isn't it? To help them to discover their life's purpose. Why? Are you getting small children, nursery school, yes, what do you want to become? Have you heard of that? It's my wife who calls it child abuse. Because what do you expect a nursery school to answer? That is child abuse. When when I was in high school, we were, like in some schools, people used to do science and others. Our school said everybody that you are too young to be making a decision. Everybody must do everything until Form 4. In Form 5, you decide whether to be science or... But you find a Form 1 saying, I'm a scientist. What do you know? So you need to understand that the person needs to be prepared to, at a certain level, don't ask a question of an exam you never thought. So you can't ask a primary school child, what do you want to become? Let them prepare for everything. Then their gifting, their interest, their joys will start guiding them in a certain direction. But when you tell your nursery child you are becoming a doctor, they don't even know what there's difference between science and art. You are putting struggle on the person on the long term. So what we are saying is, I'm agreeing with my brother, we need to help them at a very early age. And there's nothing wrong or right until you hear the basis for what they are saying. Are we together? Who wants to be the last to talk? To comment? Yes?
Okay, thanks. Now, it's a comment and kind of an observation.
Yeah.
One thing that I have noticed about the youth, their ambitions are normally very misguided. And when you come in and input what you know, they are like your old school. So you don't seem to hit a rapport with them. That is one very close observation. And after persisting, sometimes they reach a point they withhold. If it is an area like now, let's say, I'll give an example. One of our son has a company. He has had, I believe, from old times he'll never get employed. And then he is like, at a time it comes that he is now moving to a very technical area. I come and ask, now you've done an MOU. Do you know what that MOU starts? It's a legal document. Tell him, no, it's not a legal document. It's not valid. You have to do a legal contract for you to get anywhere. Because the area that is being ventured, I know it has a number of, I don't want to call them crooks, but I know there are a number of people who do they shortchange the youth. You give your brain to them, and they capitalize on it, because initially they told you, after we did an MOU, we did a project, it was funded, and now we're going to employ you. Surely, this is your brain child. But somebody wants to employ you to do your brain child. Simply because you do not understand there's something like a contract. So I think I really would wish you to guide us here as to how we try, and you remember even from when you started from the beginning, it was like we start off with my phone, I have to give my son to work on it. So already I am being submissive. I do not know. So when I bring in what I know, it is like, is that man who cannot even handle? So those are some of the major challenges that I have seen. You talk of investment. Like you say, they are so advanced in their ideas, but they are still, they are still far from reality. Because somebody will tell you, we invest in Britain. They don't know what goes on in Britain. They only hear that. Somebody came and convinced them. So we all invest in Britain. So how do you handle that challenge of the old school and the understanding?
I think, and we are finishing with this, not because there are no more questions, but because it's 4:30. It's good to keep time. That's why I was rushing at the beginning, because I knew at the end you will have a problem with time, isn't it? But if you are the only ones going, I'm sure the others can continue. I'm not suggesting the meeting is ending. But I want to say 3 things about this. Number 1, I've written a book on friendship. We need to understand your children by the time they hit 18. The only way you can relate with them is as friends. So if you continue dealing with an adult child as a child, they'll fight back, isn't it? Because the truth is, they are not children. They are younger relatives. Are we together? They are younger relatives. So if you don't get that in your mind, then you start dealing with them like they are not. But once they become friends like sharing, isn't it? So they'll share with you as Mama, I've just thought about this. And they'll talk to you. Now some you tell them you don't know, so others you give them ideas. They come, hey, by the way, that idea you gave me is working. Now you are gaining credibility, isn't it? But if it is you are always dealing with a child, you will talk to them like a child, and because they know something is better than you, they will fight back. So the best thing is admit you don't know everything. Okay? Because friends help one another. So when my daughter helps me with this one, it doesn't mean next time I'm not the one. Those are friends. So the first solution to the thing is create friendship. You must, once they become adults, you must look for friendship. One of the things I've tried to do is have a date with someone. I have 3 girls. And when they are big, you can't take them for family outing. They need to talk one-on-one. Because you see, their secret they want to tell me, they don't want the sister to know. So if you don't create a friendship, the same way you take the mother for an outing, take the daughter for an outing. Okay, there can be confusion. The other day I was with my daughter in Intercon, and somebody came from another table, came nearby. I thought he's coming to greet me, but the way he was looking at my daughter, he knew he has caught Nganga for the first. See, and no, I'm talking to him. I thought he's, but he can't listen. So who is this? Oh, I see. That's my daughter. Oh. So those things can happen. But the important thing is you need to create a friendship with adults. One-on-one. That's the way they will know their value, isn't it? You stop doing your work. So it's important that you create this friendship where you meet each other, you have appointments, you are talking. It's important with an adult that becomes something you do. I think secondly, and importantly, I think you need to help the person. Don't talk details. Find out what is their calling. What is their life's purpose. So whenever they say, you don't give them an answer outside their system. Say, by the way, you told me this. How does this new idea fit in what you? That will help him to rethink. Because the trouble with that age is peer pressure. He is going this way, then someone, that's useless. Go. The work of the parent is to be a stability, isn't it? Ask questions. Don't give instructions. Ask questions that will help the person. Because you are friends, they know you don't mean evil. The last point I want to say is that you need to give up reproducing yourself in your children. One of the biggest problems in our generation is we have lost value. We find our value in our children. You know, I was in Zambia, and I don't know, one of Mzee was giving an example and says, you know, my son was the head boy of a school. Now, Little Island is one of the best schools in Zambia. Now, unfortunately, as a Kenyan, I had no idea it was such a big school. Now, in other words, for me to know he's important, he cannot become important because his son was a head boy. Now, that's the beginning of trouble. Because they're going to swing you like a ball. They do well, you feel happy. They do badly, you feel unhappy. You and your son are relatives. You are not the same. Okay, he was in the womb first, but now he is out. You need to understand, you are two different people. Don't live your life in your children. Allow them to be themselves. Sometimes they might mess up themselves. There's nothing you can do. Don't die because they are messing themselves up. So let him, God, you know, I have prayed for him. He has refused to go that way. Let him go. He will come back. Because you are praying, isn't it? That's one job you never leave. That one of? Pray. That will come. But once he's a grown-up, you must allow him to mess himself up. You gave him your advice. He refused to take advice. He will burn his finger. Even remember when he was small, you telling him with fire, he didn't. You took the hand near the fire, they never touch the fire again. Now sometimes, now they are adults, sometimes they may have to make mistakes. And you may have, unfortunately, painfully, realize you are powerless in stopping them to make the same mistakes. So I thought those 3 are things that will help you. That you must stop finding your success in your children. You know, sometimes people say, you know, my son is a doctor, implying that he is also a doctor. Surely. My friend, you never went to medical school. The wrong side of the window. The fact that you your son is a doctor tells me nothing about you, other than you pay school fees. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. You are not cleverer or poorer. Your son, your children may be failing, like with the chlorine colors. You know, normally people pass with black. You guys are failing with the chlorine. If you pass well in high school, does that change you? No. Don't allow your children's success or failure to mess you up. Enjoy your life, but pray for them. Are we together? Yes. Thank you very much.